Some may say it is the President of the United States. Others may side with corporate America and deem the likes of Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk to be more powerful. But there is someone else. It is likely you have never heard of BlackRock. In less than 30 years, this company has grown from nothing to becoming the world's largest asset manager. The assets in the roster exceed the value of $9 trillion, and their net worth is equal to half of America's GDP. Clearly, they do not need a name in the mainstream media to be successful, or, in fact, own and control the entire world. But who are they? What do they do? And how does this one company in America influence every industry and sector in the world? Let's begin with who they are. BlackRock was founded in 1988 by Larry Fink, along with Robert Capito, Susan Wagner, Barbara Novick, Ben Golub, Hugh Frater, Ralph Schlosstein, and Keith Anderson. Its aim was to provide corporations with asset management services to help them manage their risks and investments. The idea came when Fink, during his time in First Boston, lost $100 million as its head. That experience became the motivation for him to develop what he and the others considered to be excellent risk management and fiduciary practices. BlackRock first got its funding from Pete Peterson of the Blackstone Group, who believed in Fink's vision of a firm devoted to risk management. Fink's company then essentially became an arm of Blackstone, and it was called Blackstone Financial Management. In exchange for a 50% stake in the bond business, Blackstone gave Fink and his team a $5 million credit line. Within months, the business turned profitable, and by 1989, the group's assets had quadrupled to $2.7 billion. Blackstone's stake in Fink's company then fell to just 40%, as opposed to the 60% held by Fink and his group. The firm adopted the name BlackRock in 1992, and by the end of that year, BlackRock was managing $17 billion in assets. By the end of 1994, they were handling $53 billion. Sometime later that same year, Fink became the chairman and CEO of BlackRock Inc. The company went public in 1999 at just $14 a share on the New York Stock Exchange. And by the end of that year, they were handling $165 billion in assets. BlackRock grew both organically and by acquisitions, and in 2004, they made their first significant acquisition, buying State Street Research and Management's holding company, SSRM Holding Inc., from MetLife for $325 million in cash and $50 million in stock. And this was only the beginning. We are aware, to some extent, that a handful of mega corporations and private investment companies dominate every aspect of our lives. What we watch, eat, drink, wear, buy, and go is all dictated. It is all less of a personal choice and more what is fed to us by corporations. All of these investment firms are so enormous that they control the money flow worldwide. While there appear to be hundreds of competing brands on the market, the truth is, larger parent companies actually own multiple smaller brands, like Russian nesting dolls. PepsiCo, for example, owns a long list of food, beverage, and snack brands, as does Coca-Cola, Nestle, General Mills, Unilever, Mars, Kraft Heinz, and Associated British Foods. Together, these parent companies monopolize the packaged food industry, as virtually every food brand available belongs to one of them. These companies are publicly traded and are run by boards, where the largest shareholders have power over the decision-making. And here is where it gets interesting, because when you look up who the largest shareholders are, you find yet another monopoly. While the topmost shareholders can change from time to time based on shares bought and sold, two companies are consistently listed among the top institutional holders of these parent companies: the Vanguard Group Inc. and BlackRock Inc. The same ownership trend exists in industries besides food and beverage. If you're planning a family vacation,
I'm going to use Truebill to find and cancel useless subscriptions, while my friend here tries to do this.
And using your laptop, phone, or tablet to research ticket prices and hotel stay, your go-to would probably be a site like Skyscanner, Booking.com, Airbnb, or Expedia, which provides you with all the information you need in one convenient place. Well, both of these companies are owned by BlackRock. You book your vacation and are set to fly, most likely with American Airlines, Air France, KLM, United Airlines, Delta, or Transavia. all of which BlackRock has a stake in. Even if you are not flying with any of these airlines, BlackRock still owns a percentage of Boeing and Airbus, two of the largest aircraft manufacturers in the world. If you arrive at your hotel and choose to write a review of your stay on TripAdvisor, you would be using a service also partly owned by BlackRock, and their power goes much further. The kerosene that fuels the plane comes from one of their many oil companies and refineries, and the steel that makes the plane also comes from their mines. The agricultural sector is not exempt from this either. BlackRock owns Bayer, the world's largest seed producer, along with some of the largest textile manufacturing plants and clothing companies. In addition to that, BlackRock has a stake in solar panel producing companies, major drug companies, and the scientific institutes and labs that fund drug studies. Places where you shop, from malls and department stores to Amazon and AliExpress, are owned by BlackRock. If you choose not to shop with them and support smaller local businesses, you are still supporting BlackRock when you use your credit card or any digital mode of payment to pay for your goods and services. Insurance companies, banks, construction companies, telephone companies, restaurants, personal care brands, and makeup brands are all in their sizable portfolio. In virtually every major company, you find BlackRock among the top 10 institutional investors. With its massive reach, BlackRock is essentially the fourth branch of government, influencing policies and decisions and even lending money to the central bank and Federal Reserve. The 2008 financial crisis had the New York Federal Reserve leader Timothy Geithner ask BlackRock for help to manage the distressed assets Bear Stearns and AIG. In an echo of 2008, the Fed once again relied on BlackRock to stabilize the bond market amid the economic turmoil caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. The details of the arrangement were not revealed, including how much BlackRock would be paid for their services. But it was undoubtedly a lucrative undertaking for the company, not to mention that they would also be in a position to profit from the advice they gave. BlackRock, of course, has used the central bank and the Fed's dependence on them to grow even further, rethink to become a billionaire oligarch, holding incredible power, not just in America, but all over the world. If the company and Larry Fink hold such power, why is it that you have not heard of them more? There is power in anonymity. If BlackRock is barely featured in print publications and news channels, it is because they want it to be so. If they wanted, they could feature every day. BlackRock currently owns 18% of Fox, 16% of CBS, and 13% of Comcast, which in turn owns NBC, MSNBC, and Sky. If any of those companies wanted to make a decision, they would have to also consult with BlackRock before doing so. The same is true for Google, a tech giant currently worth $853 billion. Amazon, Facebook, and Twitter are also not exempt, and neither is Disney. Thanks to their incredibly diverse investment portfolio in media alone,